got love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight. Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Welcome back to Cabbie Presents. Apologies in the delay with the podcast. I hear you, Twitter. I also appreciate those that have logged in and rated the show recently. Much love. I'm your host, Cabbie Richards, whom you can track on Twitter and Instagram, both at The Real Cabbie, one word, all lowercase, and that's The Real Cabbie, Cabbie. Last week I was in Houston and Los Angeles shooting a few segments for upcoming episodes of Cabbie Presents. And my producer, my man D, Dave Cricks, and I planned a trip to Los Angeles to shoot a thing with the LA Kings. So last year we got pretty lucky that many of the relationships that we formed in the NHL culminated onto one team. There are like 7 or 8 guys that all played on the Kings, and they made a run to the Stanley Cup final, and they won the cup. And later that night, for the first time ever, Captain Crunch was eaten out of the cup on camera and shown on television. And Mike Richards and I shared that moment, which I'm not quite sure he remembers it specifically. Anyway, while in Los Angeles, Dave's staff of ninjas hooked up some interviews for us at Tom Arnold's house on a video set with The Game, who's a hip-hop artist from Los Angeles, and the legendary Larry King, also from his house. Then we went to Houston to shoot a segment that we worked on with Sprite for 6 months with Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. You can check out pics of that whole experience on Instagram at TSN Official. I think it's TSN_official. Or my man DK on Instagram. He's got a bunch of cool pics on there. So that was in Houston. Then on Saturday night of the NBA All-Star Weekend, I interviewed Toronto Raptors rookie Terrence Ross after he won the slam dunk contest, and I gave him a NASA badge. Earlier that day, I was like, I want to go to NASA, the gift store, to buy some badges and stuff like that. And so I bought a bunch. I think I spent like $80 on like these little, sew-on badges or whatnot. And anyway, since the All-Star Game took place in Houston, which is the headquarters of NASA, a few fortunate things happen, and then Terrence Ross wins the slam dunk contest, and then I give him one of the badges as a gift alongside his slam dunk championship trophy. Anyway, so a few other unfortunate things happened during the All-Star Game, starting with Lil Wayne, which we'll get into with my guest who joins me in the studio right now.
If it's going to be an interview, I'm going to conduct it. So I'll answer my own questions, ask myself the questions, then give y'all the answers.
Closing in on 2 decades, he's been the most consistent voice of rap music emerging from Canada, an ambassador of the culture globally as he travels everywhere, putting on high energy and sweat-inducing shows. Kardinal Offishall stuck his foot in the door that Maestro Fresh West opened and pushed it all the way open into the United States. An avid basketball fan and Toronto Raptors supporter will touch on the NBA and get into his relationship with New Jersey Nets owner Jay-Z. Pleased to be welcomed in studio with Kardinal Offishall. Welcome to Cabbie Presents.
And I'm sweating as we speak. It's amazing.
It's you're gonna have to use your mind's eye for those listening. It's just we're in a kind of a small.
I'm glistening.
recording booth. You can follow his life in the social space on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes.
At Kardinal O. That's KARDINAL. O.
Yes.
All one word.
And maybe by the time this podcast comes out, because we just actually constructed my website, it's live and direct. But of course, I couldn't just spell it correctly. So the direct is DIEWRECKED.
Come on, man. That's just so complicated.
Live and direct. Live and direct. That's what we'll call it.
So it's liveanddirect.com?
That's right.
Can you spell that again, please? I need to write it down.
So simple, man.
No, it's not so simple.
LIVE.
Yeah.
AND.
Yes.
DIEWRECKED. Wrecked, as in shipwrecked.
Live and direct.
Yes.
Rected.com.
.com.
Okay, so about, I want to say it was maybe like 8 months ago or maybe a year ago, you, RT, myself, and your DJ, DOC, were sitting in my kitchen for like 3 hours telling stories. I can't remember where we were, and then we decided to go to my place en route to another place, and I'm not even sure we made it to the next place.
We sure didn't make it to the other place. Where were we?
I can't remember, but I was like, oh, we'll just stop by, and then we just consumed beverages, and then we were telling stories.
Absolutely.
And one of the stories that you were telling was your text relationship with Jay-Z, and how after certain basketball games there would be a flurry of messages passed back and forth. Can you tell me how that relationship started?
Well, you see, the relationship with Jay-Z, like, let's put it out there. He is not by any means like my brethren. Like, after this interview, I'm not going to call him, oh my God, you know what, Jay, I was talking to Cabbie. But years ago, there was this little Bayesian girl. She was like 14 or 15 at the time. And a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who used to be one of the higher ups in Columbia Records, he no longer worked there, and he took a year off, and he called me. I was in studio, and he called me. He's like, yo, I found this little girl. She's so beautiful, and she sings. And I was like, well, okay, who is she? He's like, her name is Rihanna. I was like, Rihanna what? Like, just Rihanna? He's like, trust me. He's like, yo, I need your help. I need you to get on her demos because I'm going to shop her deal, and I have a meeting with Jay-Z. And I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up doing, like, you know what I'm saying, rapping on 2 of her demos or whatever. And then, you know, I swear to you, 2 weeks later, he's like, dude, when we went into the meeting, they just locked the door and didn't let us out until the deal was done.
Wow.
Yeah, and they ended up using one of the songs that I did for the demo was on her first album. I think it was called Rush or something of the sort. That's bad. I don't remember.
Dude,
but
shouldn't you know your own? You've done like over 1,000 songs.
Dude, listen, I can't even begin to think about all the things that I've done. Cause you know what's amazing, and it's cool if it dates me, because we were watching the Beyonce documentary the other day, and I was like, it's not just me. My career is before this whole internet. Can we curse on this? We can't curse, can we?
You can curse. We'll bleep it out.
All right. Before this internet shit. So it's like, you have to understand, like, from, you know, the first thing that I ever laid my vocals on publicly was on Socrates' 12-inch, like when we were still kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, my voice didn't even finish changing yet. You know what I'm saying? A 12-inch that he had that's called Still Caught Up, where I was singing the hook.
Nice.
That's the first thing that I ever did. Now, from then up until, like, maybe 2007 was when people started, like, when Twitter came out, that's when people really started, like, putting everything out there every day. You know what I'm saying? So you have to imagine, like, for me, over 10 years of my career was not really documented within I guess the World Wide Web.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's hard to keep track of a lot of stuff. Now you can literally just do a search and, oh yeah, that's what I did last week. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows. Like, fans now will tell you, yo, that joint that you did 2 years ago with such and such. I'm like, dude, I don't even remember doing that song, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyways, so getting back to this whole Rihanna thing. So Rihanna, it was actually an exciting time at that point in time, because I got out of a deal. Like, I was with MCA and they dissolved, turned into Geffen. Then I got off that because that was a mess. They had like 3 rappers on the whole entire label. So we were able to get off that. So I was without a label at the time. And when Jay-Z came up here, he was doing something like Rock the Banner or some Rockefeller Caravana thing in 2005. And that was like Rihanna's first live performance. So she came up here and they were rehearsing in the whole 9, and I remember that's when I first met Jay. Jay was like, yo, I just want to thank you for being a part of this and helping her out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, Sure. You know what I mean? I was like,
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Right? You know what I mean? Yeah, no problem, Jay. It costs extra next time. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really where everything started. And then it's funny because I performed at his Rockefeller thing. And he wasn't supposed to perform that day, but I came out and murdered that joint. And he was like, word? Yeah, I'm rocking. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, he decided last minute to come out and rock. And him and, I think it was him and Kanye that came out. And,
I remember. That was in the parking lot by the Much Building.
That was right across the street from me.
Yes, I know exactly.
Son.
Yes.
But
Rihanna and Tiara Marie was there.
Right.
And Kanye was there. Yes.
Right.
And you did kill it. There was a parking lot with like 3,000 people. Everybody was jumping and sweating and heart palpitations.
It was absolutely. But the funny thing that most people don't know is Jay and Jay Brown. Well, it was mostly Jay Brown. Jay Brown is Jay-Z's guy. They offered me a deal on stage. So Jay Brown came over and he's like, "Yo, we want to do the deal." So he whispered a number to my manager. Manager went back to and said, "Yo, tell Jay X amount of whatever number." Jay Brown went back to Jay-Z, came back with a number. We're like, "We're cool." And that's actually,
we're cool as in, yes, we're gonna do this deal, or we're cool as no, thank you.
I'm cool. No, thank you.
Okay.
Not on a disrespect thing, but at that time, it was for me, it was amazing. It was an amazing time because it was either Jay-Z or Akon. So imagine me just as a random Toronto kid. You understand? At that time, it's like, and it hadn't been done before. You know what I mean?
Correct.
From where we're from. So I was like, yo, how do you make that decision? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, on one hand, Jay-Z had signed people, but except for Kanye, nobody had really popped off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
there was Tiara Marie. There was.
Right.
Wasn't there like MOP? He also signed.
Dude,
this before he became the president of Def Jam, or around the time that.
He had this
is
the time of like Rock La Familia. There was a
right.
Before,
okay, so like Beanie Siegel and Memphis Bleak.
After that, so this was after that. He had signed this one Mexican guy. He had signed True Life, I think.
Okay.
And like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was all random at the time. So Jay-Z was like one of my favorites of all time, but no artists had popped off except for Kanye, really. And then with Akon, he was just starting to be everywhere.
Right.
So it's like, do you link up with this guy who may be huge, or do you lose talk, or do you link up with, you know what I'm saying, with Jay, who's established, but, you know what I'm saying? So I prayed on it and said to rock out with Akon. And I mean, Akon just showed me a lot of valuable lessons, you know what I'm saying, in how to really do this thing internationally. And I think,
so what does that mean? What does that mean, Cardi?
I mean, one of the biggest lessons that Akon actually showed us, he's like, North America is cool, but it's all about the world. It's all about international. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, a lot of times when we're here, we're so focused on here that we forget about the rest of the world. Like, there's certain artists who are like, that artist ain't popping. You know what I mean? They ain't saying nothing over here. You go travel around the world, they're like the biggest thing around the world. And you would never know unless you travel to China, travel to Beirut, you travel to France. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, yo, I had no idea. But these were some of the things, because Akon, he, more than probably anybody I know, he travels to like the farthest butt cracks of the earth. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you'll talk to the guys, yo, where are you guys? We're in Rakistan. And like, what are you doing there? You know what I'm saying? But nah, man, like, it was an amazing time for me. But we kind of trailed off. Getting back to the Jay-Z thing.
Right. That's the relationship with Jay-Z. I'm on Kardinal Offishall here in studio.
That's where it started. So the funny thing is, we did the Rihanna thing. It was cool. And, Jay-Z is a very private person, you know what I mean? He doesn't let a lot of people into his Jay-Z world, you know what I mean? And that's cool. I respect and understand that. But I started going to a lot of basketball games, you know what I'm saying? And a friend of mine, whenever I would go to New York, we would always have tickets to go to the Nets game. So it always...
The Nets or the Knicks?
The Nets.
Nets, okay, yeah.
The Nets. So he would always be there, you know what I'm saying? Like, he would be there. So whenever he was there, I'm like, yo, hold on a second. I have this cat's email. Hold on, let me link this guy. So I hit him, And you would see him go into his phone, crack up, and start hitting me back. So every time the Nets would play, I would just, because it's unfortunate, but both of our teams stunk at the time. but it's one of them joints
wait, in like 06, 07, 08, that's still, so Vince Carter's with the Nets, and Chris Bosh is still with the Raptors, so, and they met a couple of times in the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
but I think at that time, that was like anorexic Chris Bosh. Like, that was before he started eating steak and potatoes. Like, when he had, you know what I'm saying, when he had the church boy haircut. And he looked like a microphone, like, that was during that time. But that, you know what I'm saying? So it was really, like, that's really what our relationship was at the time, was really just talking, you know what I mean, back and forth about the teams. Nothing more than that.
What is it like now?
You know what? The respect level has really gone up because, he's been here a couple of times, and you know what I'm saying, like, he's whenever he has a concert, you know what I mean, like, he'll give me VIP tickets, and then we'll, you know what I mean, we'll see each other and blah blah blah. Like, it's still like he's not a good friend, but he's, you know what I mean, me and him are cool, you know what I'm saying? And it was really amazing last year when he donated $10,000 for my Christmas charity event. Like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, like, that was super dope because it's like I hit him, and like within 5 seconds, like, his lawyer and the accountant like called and wired the money immediately.
Oh, that's
you know
amazing.
what I'm saying? So like he's a super dope cat, you know what I'm saying? And I like him because he's not like a lot of these other rap guys. Like, he's accomplished things when some of these guys were still not allowed to go out and play. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact, there's a lot of people that's popping now, but he is so seasoned with this. Like, he's you know what I mean? He's just super cool. And it's funny, the other day, a couple weeks ago, I was in LA and he's out there recording. I missed him by like 5 seconds because we were in studio with Timbaland and stuff like that. And he was recording with Timbaland in the same suit, and then Cabbie, and you guys can't see this now, but it sounds really weird, but I am clasping Cabbie's forearm very hard because Timbaland played me this joint off Jay-Z's new album. Insane, disgusting.
Like, wait, but what? Like, is it the beat?
It's dumb.
Is it the beat or is it what he says on the track? You know what?
It's so vintage because the thing is, it sounds almost like a RZA production more than Timbaland.
Really? Okay. So it's grimy.
It's grimy. And as usual, Jay's, the lyrics, it's...
Okay, so wait. So Jay-Z was just recording with Timbaland. He leaves, and then 10 seconds later, your car pulls up, and you walk into the studio, and Timbaland was like, oh, Hov was just here.
Something like that. We came into studio. I was with, you know what I'm saying, we got this new clique, Island Boy Cartel, the IBC. So I was out there with Rock City and DJ Benny D and Sean Kingston and all them. And
Sean Kingston's a part of it?
Newly recruited member.
Well, he's got some island roots, right?
Absolutely. I mean, depends on who you ask. But does he
actually or no?
No, he does. Nah, he does. Like, I think he was
because he's kind of Jafaican to me.
He's real deal. Like, his uncle is actually, I think his uncle's Jack Ruby. So like, he's like,
okay, real
deal Holyfield yachty. You know what I'm saying? Right, but I think he was like born in Miami and then like he was raised as a kid in Jamaica or whatever. But like he's got the real family. Like, when I go back home, my aunt is the manager of one of the managers at a big hotel down there, and she's like, yo, Sean Kingston rented out this whole place and his whole entire family was here. Like, they locked it off to have some kind of a party. So now he's a real deal. But anyway, we were in studio and we were just, you know what I'm saying, we were working and rocking out, and Anything Ill comes in. Anything Ill is from Planet 6, part of the IBC, and he's like, yo, big man, I just met Jay-Z. I said, Jay here? So I hit him up, and he's like, dog, I just left out the back door. Loose talk. So I was like, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we just missed each other. But
how did you get I was at this concert, and I think it was on Halloween when Jay-Z was in Toronto at the Air Canada Center, and Jay does this thing at the end of his show where he like looks and he acknowledges fans in the crowd. He's like, I see you, orange T-shirt. I see you, yellow bandana. And it's just a cool way for him to acknowledge his fans. And if you're one of the chosen one, you feel like a bazillion bucks. Right. And I remember I was at this concert, and he's like, oh, there's Kardinal. Watch your girls, fellas. His Kardinal's here. And I was like, oh, that's like a huge. And the crowd's like, oh. oh, like, you know, everybody was cheering. Yeah. And then you got that clip and you put it at the beginning of We Gon' Go.
Right.
So how did you, okay, first of all, how did you get the piece of sound from that concert? And then why did you decide to use it at the beginning of that track? Do you remember how
I don't actually even remember how I got that, to tell you the honest truth. Somebody probably sent it to me. To tell you the honest truth, I think somebody had sent it to me. But that whole song at the time, that whole We Gon' Go song, like that kind of embodied everything, because it was just about that whole feeling, the whole vibe at the time that I felt was missing from hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of, you know, me paying tribute to all of my favorites, or some of my favorites. Dope. You know what I mean? So, you know, Jay being one of them. But
you had you had a lot of nice shout outs there. Absent on that list was Cabbie Richards, but that's cool though. You know what? You made up for it when I appeared in a nasty mustache.
There
in
you
your
go. Hey,
anthem.
Hey, listen,
and that ugly friggin' mustache. And we recorded it in November. I'm like,
November, but you see, you will be forever frozen in time as somebody who cared and was doing something for the cause. So if anybody ever says, yo, what's with that mustache? Hey, I was raising money for a good cause.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But it was an ugly friggin' mustache. And then with my dumb
looking like
red baseball cap.
an 80s pervert or something.
I really was. So NBA All-Star Weekend just happened. How many, and I remember I think the first time I ever saw you on the road, we were in Atlanta, and this is 2003, and I remember this because you and I ended up at like a Waffle House at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It was packed. There was like one server, poor, I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl, but I just felt bad for this person because the room is filled with all these black people. They're gonna make about $8 in tips. Like that's one of the stereotypes that we have for black people. That's kind of true. And me personally, I'd like to overcompensate because I don't want.
Hey, you know what? I minimum 15%.
I go minimum 20.
Nah, hell no.
You got to go minimum 20.
No way. No.
What do you mean no way?
Because the rule of thumb, depending on what. Now, I'll tell you something internationally after, but the rule of thumb is generally that the tax is usually what the tip is.
No, but you have to calculate it after, like the total, and then calculate the 15%.
Well, here's my thing. Even if service sucks, I give them 15%. If service is good, it's always 20%.
See, I start again. I'm overcompensating. So
definitely overcompensating.
If it's $30, then I'll usually just, you know, multiply, you know, if it's 35, then I'll just go 350 times 2 for $7, and then I round up to 10. That's what I generally do. I just had lunch today at Grand Electric, and it was like $35, and I just went with a 45. And that's not even a lot of money. No, that's only $10. That's not a lot, but anyway. So
hey, listen, people out there, you see what Cabbie's pockets are all about, right?
Yeah, right. A $10 tip. That, and actually, I think some of it was Canadian Tire money. I think I left about $2 in Canadian Tire money. Like some of the bills were blue like a 5, and I left a few, so the person probably thought, oh man, I'm getting a bunch of these 5s. Okay, so we're in Atlanta for All-Star Weekend, and we end up eating at this Waffle House. Mm-hmm. But how many of those weekends have you gone to? All-Star Weekends?
Oh man, a whole lot of them.
What was it? Do you remember the last one that you went to?
No. To tell you the honest, where was the last one?
It was Houston, and then before that, I think it was Orlando last year.
I tell you the honest truth, I don't remember, because those All-Star weekends, like when you actually go to the weekends, it's very little to do with basketball.
They call it the Black Super Bowl.
Well,
and there is some of that. There definitely is some of that.
Listen, I remember my favorite one, I think, was Philly. Philly was a lot of fun when the All-Star game was.
That's when Kobe won the All-Star, the MVP, and they booed him in Philly. He took that personally.
Right.
That one.
But that one was a lot of fun though. Like for me, that's the first time. Like now, it's a little bit more common, but that's the first time I went to a party where they were like, yo, it's $100 to get in. And I was like, 100 what? Like Mexican dollar? What are you talking about?
Pesos?
Right. Like
drachmas? Like what?
Yeah. So I remember, like, for me, that was the first for a lot of things. That was, what was that, like 01 or something?
Yeah. I think it was 01, and then Washington was 02, Atlanta 03.
Yeah. Because I remember, like, you know, them times it was crazy because I used to run with the Clips sometimes. So I remember the Clips was there, and that's the first time I got to see Trina's ass in person.
Oh, boy.
And
what was it like?
I mean?
Was it similar to Kim Kardashian's?
You know, Now this is me. Kim Kardashian's, they say, is injections and stuff like that. If you've seen ass injections, it's kind of like the fake boob thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, some people like fake boobs. I think they look retarded. You know what I'm saying? They're hard. Like, you can knock on them.
Right.
And it's the same thing like with the ass injections. Like, it's great because you're like, oh, look at that big round ass. But then it's like you're squeezing a medicine ball. It's a little bit different. Trina is all real. You know what I mean? It's meaty, and you can see it when she walks. Like, in the switch, you can see some of the movement.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
and the muscle. And the...
I wouldn't say muscle.
Just the backside.
It's definitely, you know what I mean? There's stuff in there. Some cornmeal. It's in there. But
it's well fed.
Well fed. But yeah, Philly All-Star game, that was dope. But yeah, I've been to a bunch of them. I really just it was my little guy's first birthday this last week. So
hey, what's his name?
Well, you know,
fine. Happy birthday to happy belated to your little guy.
There you go. Okay. So anyway, because I don't want anybody to bite his name and then his name is not special anymore. But so I skipped the All-Star. I skipped All-Star this year. Like, all my boys went down. But in all honesty, like, just watching it on TV this year, it looked so boring.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I wasn't excited about anything. Like, everything that I started to watch, I was like, after like 20 minutes, I was like, this sucks. But here's the thing that I like about new school everything is that Twitter is the funniest thing during any event.
1,000,000% agree.
So All-Star Weekend was great because of all the commentary. And, you know, I'll tell you honestly, Chris Bosh, that was my guy. When he was here, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember I hosted his birthday party here one time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Me and Cypher Sounds. And Chris was cool, but, man, Chris was not a cool All-Star Weekend for him this.
Oh, boy. He just got... Should we? Okay, let's get into it. So Chris, I don't know if there's a photo and then, like, the past. Okay, so even I'm gonna take it back to even when the Miami Heat won the NBA championship.
Yep.
And there's the shot of LeBron and D Wade with the champagne and they're spraying it, and then Chris just jumps into the frame, into the camera view with a bottle of champagne and just dousing himself, but it just looks like it's the money shot. Like, Chris, I know you're hyped and we know you're excited, but just visually, it didn't look masculine and it didn't look cool.
It was definitely R. Kelly'd up in that shot. Definitely R. Kelly.
And then there was a photo of Chris Paul holding the All-Star MVP trophy, and in the background, Chris Bosh is sort of just looking over his shoulder and just has this look. It's just like, oh, just another one, just not. But that's not the biggest punch in the groin that he got. The night before, for those who are unaware, Lil Wayne had a party, and on stage he's with Baby and he's with Drake, and he just stops the concert and he's just talking to the audience, and he says, I was banned from all the NBA events, and later he went on to explain on a radio show that he was supposed to participate with Gerald Green in the dunk contest, do something, but the NBA said, no, you can't participate in that. And he was also supposed to appear with Alicia Keys during the halftime performance, but they said no to that. So he got those two things, thrown at him. So he was mad. So on stage, he's like, F the NBA, F the Miami Heat. They're the reasons why I can't be part of the All-Star Weekend. F LeBron James. And oh, by the way, I F'd Chris Bosh's wife.
Hey, man. And the funny thing was, listening to the radio show, I was listening to it yesterday, and homegirl was like, so there's nothing you want to take back, Lil Wayne? He was like, nope. And he's
he did say he wants to take back the F LeBron part. Like, because LeBron and I are cool and blah blah blah.
Right.
But nothing else. No F the NBA. No F the Miami Heat. And
never mind that. No, I F'd his wife. Like that's his real deal Holyfield wife. You know what I'm saying? Like rings and all that.
So wait, are those legit fighting words though? Like if a dude disrespects you like that, and the whole internet has access to hear and see the way that you said that, and I felt bad for Drake because he turned his back on the crowd because he didn't want to be a part of it when he's going off F all these people. He's like,
those are his people.
Those are his boys. He's partying with LeBron at the Two Kings party with him and Jay-Z, and then Michael Jordan's party. But anyway, to you, Kardinal, I'm in studio with Kardinal Offishall. If someone were to disrespect your lady like that in a public setting like that, the next, I mean, are you gonna try to? Are you pulling a Carmelo Anthony? You're gonna try to see him by the bus, or or what do you do? Because that's a legit slap in the face and a kick in the groin, and the whole world is watching it.
You know what? And here's the thing, and I'll tell you honestly, and it sounds messed up. I mean, I'm cool with my relationship, so I'm not really sweating any of that. But if I were Chris Bosh, me and my wife would have to have a conversation. Because the thing is, if he did, he can't really do or say anything.
Right, because if it's the truth, then you can't change the past as much as you want to.
Chris could have came home and been like, yo, did you? She said, yeah, hell yeah, I did. You know what I mean? Like, then what are you supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you can really do at that. It's different if he didn't.
So if he didn't, if someone says that about you and your lady, make it you, and there's no truth to it whatsoever. Some random dude says whatever on, and I hooked up with Cardi's wife.
Right. I mean, especially us rappers, we got to choose how we say these things differently, podcasts or not. Because if I tell you what I'd really do, it would be incriminating myself for the time that may happen.
So it would seem premeditated, right?
It would seem premeditated. But I mean, like, if you ask me, like, right now, if you're like, yo, Cardi, I smashed your wife, I'd be like, for real? Like, my first thing is I would have to check with my woman. And if she's like, yeah, me and Cabbie did smash, I'd be like, you can't really do anything. Now, if you just said some random and you didn't, then we have issues. That's different. Then we have issues. You know what I'm saying? But if you did smash, because I smashed a lot of people's wives, but
oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, what can you do? It's one of the it's in their catalog. You know what I'm saying? Like I was one of the prerequisites. You know what I mean? So they should seriously. But you have to think about it like this, bro. Because it's like, yo, for whatever reason, me and the chick didn't work out, and now they're with you. So you can thank me actually for smashing your wife because it led to her being with you.
It's cool. Nobody would ever be that rational about it.
But this is why we're here today, because dudes are going to be like, man, I ain't really think about it like that. Thank you very much for smashing my wife.
Come on. Come on.
Hey, man.
So now you see Chris Bosh is going to see Lil Wayne also said in that radio interview, I think it was on 99 Jams in Miami. He also said that he spends $1.5 million on Miami Heat, on the Miami Heat franchise to pay for those courtside seats. Yep. I imagine he bought a pair. So $1.5 million he's giving to Mickey Arison. So he has, and I believe in the NBA you have the right of refusal if you cause problems in the arena. I think there's a fan code of conduct. I think it's on the back of the ticket. Mm-hmm. In the NFL, I know they have that for sure. I'm not sure what it is in the NBA.
Right.
But if they allow, okay, Lil Wayne, you can continue coming to these games because we've already cashed your check.
Mm-hmm.
So now Chris Bosh is going to see him, courtside, So what?
I didn't even think about. Wow.
Even if it's not true or if it is true, then
hey, I mean, man up.
Do you have a man-to-man convo behind closed doors? Like, listen, man,
Kardinal, that's what Kardinal do. Kardinal works it out. You know what I'm saying? Kardinal will deal with Wayne. I ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it was me, I would have said, yo, you know what I'm saying? Let's try and arrange a talk. But, you know what I'm saying? Especially, knowing how people can be. Like, if Wayne didn't want to talk about it, then, I mean, hey, come courtside. What, you know what I mean? Lose talk. But what you going to do?
And to make matters worse.
There's people that say a lot worse than that every game about Chris Bosh. So I think with the players, I mean, because he's a superstar, you might feel a little extra salty, but people are going to do that. Think about your homeboy, your best friend, your cousin Kobe. You know the amount of hate that man gets every game. People, they can't stand Kobe.
I agree.
You understand what I'm saying?
But it's not like people are really saying Kobe doesn't get a lot to his face. Not a lot. Because then Kobe's like, all right, I'm going to take the next 9 shots for sure.
Right.
And I'm going to probably hit 4 or 5 of them in your face, regardless of your defense.
Right. Well,
but he does. I mean, I'm sure he gets a lot from the fans, but I don't know about player to player. I know some guys are great at trash talk, Kevin Garnett being probably the best as far as the most vocal.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you're Tony Allen on the Memphis Grizzlies.
But you know what? Wayne don't like none of them except for LeBron. So, I mean, it's going to be an interesting dynamic now. Like, people are definitely going to watch those games to see what, you know what I'm saying, what happens or doesn't happen. Because the thing is, like, you can't miss them, you know what I'm saying, when them dudes are courtside. Like, you always see Baby or Wayne.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, it'll be interesting, man.
Now, and then to make matters worse, I don't know if you saw this, but when the Heat played in Atlanta, Chris Bosh went to the line of scrimmage. Sorry, excuse me, not line of scrimmage. He went to the free throw line in the first quarter to take free throws. The crowd started chanting Wheezy.
Oh.
Just like the 3-4 days for this guy, like he can't win. Wheezy, Wheezy. I feel bad for Chris Bosh. Like he just can't catch a break. That guy.
It's terrible. I feel sorry for the homie, but you know what I'm saying. Like it comes with the territory. Like, you can cry yourself to sleep in your $10 million house, and you know what I mean. Like, get your private masseuse to wipe your tears while you're getting a massage and stuff. So I mean, you feel sorry up to a certain degree.
Now you mentioned. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick detour. You mentioned the clips earlier, like when you went to the Philadelphia All-Star game in like 01, and I recall vividly, and I used to I used to work with Tim McAuliffe, a very good friend of mine, and we used to
your mouth.
Yes, and we used to quote some of your rhymes in the Grinding remix. Now, this is again it is kind of in the internet era, but not really the internet that we now know as the internet. So radio play was a huge thing, and then when your remix, like they just keep they just can't hold. No,
they just keep holding me.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't let go. And so
the little Robert Nestor flip.
How did you? Okay, so that was like, to me, that was like the first time that you broke. They were a big American act, not a huge commercial success, but certainly in hip hop, they had a lot of notoriety. They had a lot of fame within the genre.
Yeah.
So how did you connect with the clips and thereby sort of opening that door to the U.S. because you were recording in the United way more than you record in Canada. You're always somewhere else making music.
I mean, at that time, to tell you the honest truth, it was T-Dot again. I was home. Those times, like. At that time, like, you know what I'm saying, like it was funny because I had a crib in New York and a crib here.
Nice.
So I'd split my time. But I was home, and we were at the courthouse, and we were going into some little VIP part. Some security person was escorting me to the VIP, and out the door walks Pharrell. So I'm like, what are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, now, like, people frequent the T-Dot a lot more, but back then times I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, we're actually here, promoting the Nerd album. So I just, I came through. He's like, yo, I am a fan of Old Time Killing. That is crazy to me.
Amazing.
I was
amazing
like, yo, and Grinding had just dropped. I'm like, yo, Grinding is retarded. He's like, yo, I'm going to send you the files, and this is showing you, like, back in them days, they had to FedEx the file. He's like, I'm going to send you the files for Grinding. I want you to get on the remix. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Because that happens a lot, right? People just talk a lot of stuff.
All the time.
Right.
Yo, we got it. Famous quote. Yo, we got to work. That's what everybody say. No doubt. The two that go together. Yo, I'm a fan, son. Word. We got to work. All right, cool. Take my number. Right. So anyway, he's like, and I'm going to send you the files. I'm like, all right, whatever. And I remember being in studio, and the files came. And I loaded it up. The song was done. Like, my whole thing was done in 10 minutes. Like, really? Literally, like, it took no time. Like, the vibe was like, I was so hype out of my skin. Like, I was like, yo, this is insane. Like, this is actually going down. I was like, all right, cool. Let me kill this. Killed it,
and you did, and you really did.
Yo, and it was crazy, man. Like, from then, and he put Sean Paul on it, so it was me and Sean Paul and the random guy. It was one of his brethrens, like some guy talking about people sell their soul for a slice of bread. I was like, who is this random guy in between me and Sean Paul? But anyway, loose talk. But like, you know, that really, from there, that's when we went on and ended up doing that Belly Dancer record. And yes, you may not remember Belly Dancer.
Is that the Sean Paul and Beyonce one?
No. This is me and
Tweet
and the Neptunes, me and Pharrell.
Yeah.
A joint called Belly Dancer. This song never really came out because that's the same time that the label dissolved.
Oh.
Yo, that was like Lil X had shot the video. We spent like $200,000 on it.
Oh boy.
Never came out.
Oh boy.
I had one of those Movember mustaches. It wasn't Movember. But you know what I'm saying? Like that, like from doing that stuff with the clips, he's like, I gotta get on the album. And I remember going to studio, you'll love this. So he's like, you know, we have a studio session with, you know, with the Neptunes. I'm like, you know, geeked out because you have to understand, like, at this time, this shit is not happening to anybody from where we're from.
100%.
You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like,
yes.
it's so significant because it's like, never mind, Pharrell. There's Pharrell, Busta Rhymes at the time, Pharoah Monch, Timbaland. Like, all these people are like, yo, son, like I've never heard anything like this before. So I'm rocking out with all these different people. So I'm hyped out of my mind. You know what I'm saying? I go in there, and there's a chick. Now, me and chicks in the studio, I'm not a big fan of it because
What does that mean? Like just random,
girls
like a
in
girlfriend
studio,
of one of the guys?
Doesn't matter.
Or just like, what if she's a female artist?
Well, that's different. But if you're not an artist, like a random female in the studio just hanging around, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's never been my cup of tea because females, not to generalize or stereotype, but when rappers or producers bring random chicks to the studio, they serve no purpose except to boost your ego. They don't contribute anything to the song. So like when I'm zoning out, I don't have the time for some random chick who's like offering her opinion based on what she heard or what she saw on World Star or something random like that. Like, keep your opinions to when the song is done. So there's this chick in there, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man, but it's Pharrell, so I'm like, you know, what can you do? You can't, you know what I mean? This chick starts talking, and I'm scratching my head. I'm looking at her. I'm like, why do I recognize?
Is that Missy Elliott?
Naomi Campbell.
What?
Naomi Campbell. Dude.
Was just sitting in the studio?
Chilling. I was like, I'm cool with chicks being in the studio. I'm so good with this right now. I'm so, yo.
Wow, Naomi Campbell is one of the finest women ever.
Makeup on or off. So anyways, the thing is, this song that he's producing is inspired by her being in studio. Like, he's looking at her and he's like, I'm like, all right. You know what I'm saying? This is what it's like, you know what I mean? And like Pharrell, he's a different caliber of cat. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's standing on top of the table delivering this speech to me. I am the one that brought black music to Britney Spears, to NSYNC, to JT. Like, I'm changing the way it is, so you have to trust me. I'm like, I'm with you, dude. You know what I mean? So,
and he's literally standing on a table?
He's literally standing on the table. You know what I'm saying? But it's so dope. Like, that passion, you rarely see that passion anymore. Because things like, we're in the age of double clicking, you barely see the people that are in your face, you know what I'm saying, and believe and love the music that much and want to change sonically what music sounds like. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, people just want to get something on the radio so they can do some shows and pay their rent. You understand? Like, those times, it's just like you're in there to do something magical. So, that session went on, and it was crazy because that actually opened the doors to me being able to start to invade England, the UK, and Europe and all that, because they love Belly Dancer crazy over there. And from that, in that same year, I think that was like maybe 02, 03, I had linked up with this group called Texas. Who's Texas, Cardi? Exactly. Texas at that time in 02 had sold 25 million records globally. And right, we have no idea who they are. Huge. So they were coming out with the album. They wanted me to be on their first single. So I was on their first single, a song called Carnival Girl. And dude, like, you have to imagine, this is my real intro into the UK. Like, I'm talking like these guys are sending, at the time, like the G-Wagons to pick me up. We're flying private jets to Scotland, to Ireland, to here, there. And this, you have to, hey, I'm from Oakwood and Vaughan is where I was living at the time. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm living in turf at Oakwood and Vaughan, but I'm over in Europe on private jets. Like, I'm talking private jets to where like you don't have to put on your seatbelt. You know what I'm saying? Like they bring you sandwiches, the crusts are cut off. You ask for apple juice, it's freshly pressed apple juice. Some blonde chick, you know what I mean, with a push-up bra. Like I'm like, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, like the toilets are padded leather seats. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like with like a candy basket beside it in case it. So you know what I mean? So like all these string of events is just leading to all this amazing stuff internationally for me. You know what I'm saying? And it's so dope because why I like it is everything stems back to being from Toronto. Because all these people that wanted to work with me, it's not because I was the hottest at the time, meaning like it, you know, a lot of times when you're number one, everybody wants to work with you. You understand what I'm saying? Not because you're dope, it's because you're number one and they want to jump on that train. And what happens is for a lot of those artists that are number one, when they start to fall off and they're not number one anymore, people don't want to work with them because they didn't like them because they were dope. They liked them because they were number one.
Right.
So for me, it was really ill because people really just loved the artistry. You know what I'm saying? Like I was doing cool, but I was just starting. You know what I mean? But people was rocking out. They're like, yo, we've never, you know what I mean? Like some people used to compare me to like the energy of a KRS-One. I remember that's one of the first, he probably wouldn't even remember, but I remember Jay-Z's like, yo, you remind me of a young KRS-One.
No, I remember KRS-One. Some people listening, like there's one guy in Philly who's not really sure.
Right.
Like a 19-year-old kid who loves the Philadelphia Flyers and he listens to this podcast,
right,
but is not sure who
no
KRS-One.
idea.
Yeah.
But
KRS-One was a legendary
hip-hop artist. All you need to know is go read
from Brooklyn.
Go read
Bronx. Excuse me, Bronx.
South
Down Bronx. Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
Wow. Sorry.
But he had one of the most important songs to hip hop. The Bridge Is Over.
Right.
That's where you should start.
It's like the original battle beat.
Yeah, just disgusting.
Just the piano.
The reason why you have to understand how that relates back to me is that was actually a Supercat song.
Oh, it was?
Boom, 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 boom,
really?
Boom. Yep, Supercat.
Before
Bridge Is
KRS-One?
Over.
Oh, I didn't know
called
that.
Siboops There. Siboops There. So you have to understand when KRS-One came out, to me, I'm like, it was dope for two reasons. For hip-hop, crazy. And to this day, people have no idea like when you go back and dissect it. But never mind the fact that he took that whole melody from Supercat. But you have to understand The Bridge Is Over, he's in his own, I mean, I found out just the other day he's Trini. His family is Trini.
Oh, really?
KRS-One, I didn't even know. But he's doing this patois thing the whole time. But people
yeah.
don't even put two and two together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bye. The bridge is over. The bridge is over. You see me coming at the dance with a spliffer sensei. That, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I relate to that because it sounds like one of my cousins or my uncles are, you know what I mean? And that's really where my whole love for this hip-hop thing came, is when certain people kind of related it back to what I knew about the KRS-Ones, the Michie Me's, and all that kind of good stuff. You know what I mean? But anyway,
so get me back into
straight again. But
yeah, so you're traveling because your introduction to Pharrell led to working with the Clips and him wanting to work with you again because he loves your artistry and your energy. Right. I would say that the way that you perform is the way that Busta Rhymes, and I hope you don't take offense, the way that Busta Rhymes' energy in a track is you embody that on stage, because I've seen you perform over a dozen times, and it's the hypest show.
Busta Rhymes is, I'm so privileged to say, is a good friend of mine now. And if you got to see Busta when, and I'm not saying that Busta doesn't give an amazing stage show right now, but when he was young, like thin,
the 96, ripped, but like woo-ha Busta Rhymes.
I don't know if you remember, he came here and did a show at, it wasn't even called the Cool House. He did a show at Cool House.
What was it called then?
This is when,
what was it called?
Was it the Warehouse?
Before, I think it was. It was Government and Warehouse.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But I like Busta. I remember that show because everything he had was tailor-made. First of all, it was just his own. There was nothing like it. But this man stripped down, like he took off his shirt. He was just, and he jumped on top of the speaker, and just the movement, like he was the illest performer I had ever seen. Like KRS-One, he's somebody that could always get an entire room, stadium, anything jumping, rocking out. But seeing Busta Rhymes, nobody had the type of stage presence that Busta had. Nobody.
I feel like you embody that right now, the way that you perform. And
but you see, I'll tell you, for me, I came up on the KRS's, the Busta Rhymes, and also a lot of to tell you the honest truth, like we laugh, like the Shabba Ranks and those guys have crazy stage shows. Like those guys come out jumping, flipping. You understand what I'm saying? Because in Jamaica, you will get bottles thrown at you. You understand what I'm saying?
If you're not a high performer?
If you're not crazy. So that's where, you know what I mean? That's where all that stuff came from. But yeah, man, like anyways, that whole string of events just led to a lot of things happening for me internationally. And it was because of, again, that traveling international that led back to the situation with Akon.
So, okay, so you're a kid from Toronto, and you get put on the map with Pharrell's camp, and Pharrell, I believe, changed the sound of hip hop for a time. He had like a good 3-year window. Timbaland had a 3-year window where the music was sounding like what in their studios, like they were pumping out the bulk of what was massively consumed in hip hop music.
But here, just to give credit to them, what's ill about those two, especially that you named, is that it might have been maybe a 3 to 5 year window where they ran everything, but you have to understand they also did that because they had been through with murdering R&B and pop. Because remember when
Timbaland for sure,
yeah,
with Missy's sound and
Aaliyah,
yeah,
and even those other ones that you don't know about. But Pharrell, the same thing. Like the thing that really made people aware of who Pharrell was the stuff that he did, the chances that he took with Britney Spears and with NSYNC and stuff like that.
I think he did the Girlfriend song, and in Britney Spears, I think he did Slave for You. He has a signature, the drum pattern and the drum sound is like a signature sound. Okay, so I want to get to this. Okay, so you're a kid from Toronto, and you open, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm here with Kardinal Offishall in the studio, and Maestro was like the first guy that got like a little bit of a taste. Like he got a little bit of a taste in New York, and then what he did, you opened that door, and you were all over the place, and now Drake is a phenomenon. Oh, Justin Bieber is a phenomenon, and Drake is a big star, and Justin Bieber's from Stratford, Ontario, which is not too far from Toronto, Ontario, for those listeners on the West Coast or from the United States.
Right.
And Drake is from the city. So being that you and Drake are in the same hip hop genre, what is I know you must get this a lot, so I don't want to ask you about why you guys haven't worked together. Okay, so
we did.
So what is your
2006 comeback season?
Which is his like
first mixtape.
Yeah, that's his sort of defining mixtape. So what is your relationship like now? I mean, it's 2013. You mentioned something from 2006.
Yeah, it's crazy. I haven't seen him since when's the last? I only see that guy like once or twice a year because he's all over the damn place. I mean, we cool. You know what I'm saying? The last thing that we really did together was a charity dinner that we did for a mutual friend of mine, his and ex's, that actually ended up passing. But that was probably like the last thing that we did together. Like, you know what I'm saying? We cool, but like he's out there doing his thing.
So you mentioned jokingly that like whenever you see other artists or producers like, yeah, we got to work together. And I know there's a lot of that kind of chatter, just based on what you said, a lot of that kind of chatter in the music biz. So have you guys said that to each other, and how come you guys haven't re-collaborated on something yet?
I don't know, to tell you the honest truth. It's a good question. Next time you see him, ask him. Like, it's one of those, hey, within Toronto, just like how I am, as long as you're dope, because people equate me, like when I make these statements, they're like, well, I'm from Toronto, so we should do a song. If you're from Toronto and you're talented and dope, I'm going to know about you and we're going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are very few people, if any, that have come from here that have been successful to a degree that I haven't worked with at some point in time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to remember, like, and this is not, like, and for me, it's a love thing, because to me, if Toronto was actually really and truly to come together, you understand what I'm saying? Like, the movement would be so much more powerful, because the thing is, it's like, I've seen it from, from my own eyes, and then I've seen it transferred to, to the Kanons, to the Melanie Fionas, to the Drakes of this world. unfortunately, people always think they're like, you know, Kardinal, he's from Toronto, Drake's from Toronto, so that somehow means that I'm going to be successful. It has nothing to do with it. Drake's work ethic is crazy. And he, you know what I'm saying, he linked up with Young Money, who helped nurture him, you know what I'm saying, and take him from an underground MC to a superstar. You understand what I'm saying? There's so many different elements to it. You know what I mean? That makes somebody amazing. Because we're from Toronto doesn't mean you're dope because you're from Toronto. It just means that maybe there's more eyes on you. So if you get those eyes on you, I hope that your craft is as dope as you think it is. But in terms of me and Drake working together, like, I think it has to happen one day. You know what I mean? Like, I remember he invited me, was it either the first or the second OVO Fest that he had, he invited me to be one of the special guests, and I came out and, you know what I mean, rocked out, did Old Time Killing or whatever. And I remember, like, the love from the city. Like, I remember that night and the next couple of weeks, people were like, yo, do you know what that felt like to see you two on stage?
That's
you know what I'm
pretty
saying?
amazing, yeah.
It's crazy. So it's like, yo, like Drake, the songs that he makes are absolutely insane. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't help but have them stuck in your brain. Like, he has a certain talent. Like, he has, you know what I mean, his strong suits. I have my strong suits. You know what I mean? The Weeknd has his strong suits. Everybody, you know what I mean? Like, like the Airplane Boys. Like, there's so many dope people that we have from this city. Like, if we were ever to make it a little bit more than the superficial thing that it is, it would be because you have to understand, I travel to places like in Atlanta, everybody works together. Everybody has done not just one song, but many songs with each other. They go in studio, they rock out. There's cities where that happens. You know what I mean? But there's you know.
Why do you think that is about T.O.? I know we have sort of like the inferiority complex to New York, because New York is like the big brother, and maybe there are a lot of haters there. But why do you think that is, that in T.O. we haven't had as much unity in the music community?
We've been this way for many moons. We've always been in a weird place. If you look back at what's happened within the city historically, we've never made room for more than one person at a time.
Right.
Historically. Like, when Chaos was super huge, it was just Chaos.
Right.
When Socrates, who came before me, was super huge, doing work with Premier and Redman and Exhibit and blah, 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 it was just Sox. When Shaw Clear, remember Let's Ride, and when he was rocking out, it was just Shaw Clear. You know what I mean? And it always goes that way. Like, I don't know if it's a mental thing or if our industry just hasn't figured out how to accommodate more than one superstar at a time. But I think, like, we always just have that in our brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, Cabbie's the man for the day. Nobody else can do anything. Just Cabbie right now. You know what I mean? There's little things that we gotta get over. But I think what's dope is a lot more. You know what I mean? A lot more. We are definitely are coming together. And I mean, the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing about, I'm a godly type of person. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, when and if God says, yo, you and Drake need to come together and do some type of crazy anthem, you know what I mean, that will define this time and define our city forever, then it'll, you know what I'm saying, it'll happen. And if it don't happen, then, you know what I'm saying, we'll be cool either way. Like, that's the thing about music. To me, music is an organic thing, so it can't be forced. And on top of that, music means too much to my life to just have it be some random tweet or thought or Instagram picture that people want to see come to life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't rock out with anybody, no matter how big you are or how small you are. Like, it has to be a thing to where mutually both parties, like, we want to get together in studio and make a real moment happen. You know what I'm saying? Make something special. And I think that's what music should be a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should have a lot more of those moments so that when you listen to the song, you're like, yo, this is crazy. And it's funny, like, you're the first person I'm talking to about this, but the other day I had to go back and revamp and throw away a bunch of stuff because
what do you mean stuff? Like music or like actual
music ways that I was thinking,
like stuff that you'd recorded?
Yeah, this an amazing singer-songwriter from here, Aya. We had a writing session at my studio, and I was just playing her a gang of music that, to tell you the honest truth, I was playing her music that I thought she would like, instead of playing like some other hard or whatever. But I just started playing her a bunch of music, and she's like, yo, this is like this stuff, like this part of the music that you play me, like this stuff here, the world needs to hear. And I'm like, to me, I was like, the way music is right now, and we're talking a lot about hip hop. Hip hop has really lowered its standards to me, and it's like it's not inspiring. When I listen to hip hop, there's very rarely a song that feels like it changed my life.
So okay, so like what? Okay, so you're so when you say it lowered its standards, are you talking about the quality of the production or the quality of what the artist is putting, like saying to the world?
There's not much. There's not a whole lot of depth.
Like All Gold Everything, like Trinidad James.
I mean, Trinidad's my guy. Like, he's a whole other story. Like, but
he's not really saying much.
But listen, there's always places for everything within hip hop.
Agreed.
I'm just talking about if you were to generalize it. Put it this way. All right, we're here with somebody who hates hip hop. And we're like, yo, hip hop is so dope. And they're like, yo, hip hop is garbage. If we listen to radio for the next hour, you tell me what message you get from it. So if we were to turn on the radio and we were to make notes of every hip hop song that we've heard that plays on the radio in the next hour, what are you going to hear? Nothing. Garbage. We're not talking about anything. And what's ill, there was another podcast that I listened to where Ebro, who was the PD for Hot 97, I don't know if he took a pill that day and somebody was like, you can only speak the truth, but it was one of the illest podcasts I ever heard, because he broke it down and he just told the truth. And he was like, yo, I'll tell you honestly, the music that we play has to be about sex, money, drugs, or other things that chicks like. He's like, yo, we have to stray away from politics, stray away from anything too heavy. We don't play that. And he's like, yo, on our station, that's why, you'll hear a Rick Ross, Young Money, blah, blah, blah. And you know what I mean? And he's like, yo, we put that in rotation because that's what the people want to hear right now. That's what we have to feed them. Sex, money, partying, and other lighthearted stuff. So with that being said, people can argue it all they want. Yeah, there's the Talibs, there's the Mos Defs, whatever. You have to seek those out. Those are some of my favorites also, but you have to seek those people out, and sometimes it's so difficult. I'm talking about you turn on regular radio, satellite radio, TV, you know what I'm saying? All the main outlets right now that are playing hip-hop, if we were to do anything randomly for an hour, we wouldn't be talking about anything. We'd be talking about our clothes, the car, the color of the car.
Wait. So are you saying that the material you threw out was that stuff? Is that what you're saying?
I'm never that type of person. But she challenged me to do an album as if this is my last offering. This is the last thing that you have to offer to the people. And as artists, we're always like, it's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can throw in 3 of those now, 3 on another album. But she's like, yo, I challenge you to do that. And the funny thing is, it's like, it's hard, because the thing is, it's like there's so many different parts to me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's parts I party, but I'm also a spiritual person. I'm a family person, but at the same time I like to wild out. I'm a traveling. Like, there's so many different parts to me, so I feel it's not fair, you know what I'm saying, to be able to just talk about one side of my life, because then people might see me at a strip club somewhere and be like, dude, I was just listening to the song Change the World. What are you doing here? And why is your hand there? You know what I'm saying? So it's a tough, you know what I'm saying? It's a difficult process, but it's a real thing, because the other thing is, it's like with this whole philanthropy and wanting to be more charitable with my life, it's tough also, because the thing is, it's like, that's a real part of my life. Like, for some people it's just tax write-offs, but I'm very much rooted within the community. You understand what I'm saying? Like, when Dangerous came out, like, when I started seeing huge checks, I was still living in the hood. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't until a little bit after that, you know what I'm saying, that I moved out into, you know what I'm saying, like, my first house in the suburbs and all that. I was still within the community. You know what I'm saying? My mom, who's one of the biggest influences on my life to this day, like, when kids get shot in the city, she is the one that's at the media rallying for the government to actually do something for the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's still, you know what I'm saying, heavily a part of the Alexander Park Community Center that's in the projects. That's right. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course,
so it's like, when these things are a part of your regular life and who you are. I can't just look at it like some people are like, man, damn, son, that sucks. You'll pass that. You know what I mean? Like, for me, this is a real part. You know what I'm saying? It's a real part of who I am. So it's like, it's tough, but musically, I think it's super important. And I think like one of the most important records that I made, it took 2 years to write.
Which was what?
It's a song that's going to be on the new album. It's called Hope. And the song was produced by Stefan Macchiao. And if you know anything about Stefan, you're like, who is that? Stefan is one of our Canadian treasures. Like he's responsible for Celine Dion's biggest hit to this day. The last one that she had that was, like on Billboard for 68
like
weeks.
The Titanic song?
Don't ask me.
Okay.
I don't know.
The Titanic song.
I'm not going to pretend to like Celine that much. Not Celine, Celine. But Stefan is a genius. Like he scored the entire Winter Olympics, stuff of that nature. You understand? He after one of the Celine Dion sessions, I think he had like a 60 or 80 piece orchestra. Like it was the Toronto Symphonic Orchestra. This guy had time on his hand. He's like, well, finish the Celine stuff. Why don't I just score this song and have the orchestra play it out? And then I'm going to incorporate hip-hop aspects into it and make it into this gigantic, unbelievable song. Then me and him become cool. He's like,
how, though? How do you meet Celine Dion's producer? It seems like you guys are on opposite ends of the world.
I met him at a Canon when we all did the waving flag.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Met him there. He's like, yo, and again, I'm a fan. We should work. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But he brought me down to his studio that he has in Toronto. I mean, he moved to LA now, but he just moved there like within the last 6 months. But dude, it is one of the most magical songs. I'll play a brief piece for you after when we're finished with this, but it is so insane. And it's like songs like that, every song can't be like that, but I mean, for me, it just really changed the way that I'm looking at music and the way, you know what I mean, and what I want to put out, because I was kind of looking at music a whole, somewhere else, you know what I'm saying? Like I was.
So wait, after this experience, that's when, so it's that experience and with this artist, Aya, was her name?
Aya, yep.
Aya. So this is like, now you're like, so you have that and you have that together. You're like, now you're sort of, did you then sort of, is this when you started to think about music differently because of those two?
It's not that I hadn't thought about it like that before. It's just that I wasn't brave enough to do it. And a lot of us, and that's the thing, is a lot of us aren't brave enough. A lot of us, we are that smart. You know what I mean? We are that intelligent. We do know better. We just don't. And that, I think for me, meeting a lot of artists, that's what pisses me off the most about artists that you meet. Is like, you're like, dude, you're so intelligent. Like you'll have these talks with people.
Give me an example.
I can't.
Give me an example. But you're speaking in we're speaking kind of broad strokes. Give me a specific.
I can't.
But you're
saying, gotta speak politically. But okay,
but listen,
it's like,
but Cardi,
right,
you're saying one per. Okay,
Mm.
okay. Did you say Busta Rhymes?
No. I was gonna say bust it like this.
Okay.
It's like there's artists that some of them, and it's not about your schooling or what have you. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about going to school and whatever. But there's some artists that you meet that have a master's degree. But then you hear their music and you're like, dude, it sounds like you've never been outside of your block ever in your entire life. And it sounds like you have like a 8-ball of crack in your pocket right now. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many of them that are like that. Or there's people you talk to them and in one breath, they go to Africa and they're saving the world and stuff like that. But then you hear their music and you're like, the two don't really go together. You understand what I'm saying? And it's just like, a lot of people they're afraid, but I can't pretend like I wasn't afraid to do it also. Not all the time, because throughout my albums, there's within every album I do, there's songs that I do that have to encourage people, because I meet too many people that are like, dude, that song that you did called Do Me a Favor with Estelle, that changed my life. I was going through, somebody died, and I just needed God to do me a favor that day. Like, that song was amazing. Or somebody else who's like, and I'm just picking random songs, the song with Bedouin Sound Clash, Last Standing Soldier, like, yes, that's how I feel. Like I'm the last standing soldier, like, keep rocking, you know what I mean? There's all these different songs throughout my career that I do There's a song that I had on the first album, Quest for Fire, a song called Man by Choice, where I discuss the N-word. And to this day, like, people have written, like, professors have told me they've used that within, within their classes at university and all kind, you know what I'm saying? Like, all kind of different things. Like, throughout my career, I feel it's important. But I think for me, more so, it's important to do it a little bit more just because we're lacking. So instead of complaining about what I think somebody else should do, you know, you want to be that example, you know what I'm saying? Like, just lead by example. Do what you would like other people to do. And some people may look at that and be like, dude, that song you did, that changed the way I didn't think like anybody would be brave enough to do it, but yo, that's ill. And that inspired me to do this song. You know what I'm saying? Just like Kanon doing Waving Flags inspired me to do one of my favorite songs called One Dream Away. You know what I'm saying? That it's to me, like, you hear and it's like stadium music, but I remember being a part of that whole, you know, Waving Flags process and just seeing the effect that it had and the amount of money that it raised for Haiti and the awareness and all those people coming together. Like, seeing people.
Were you wearing your sunglasses in that video?
Probably. And I was probably wearing my gold chain too. But, you know what I'm saying? But nah, man, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's all about being brave. And it's like, it's interesting because I was watching the Beyonce documentary. Now, mind you, I find it very odd that she spends that much time talking to herself in her laptop.
Right.
It's very
a lot
weird.
Of it. And that thing was like a 90 minutes, and there's like probably hundreds of hours of her just talking to her.
Of her talking to herself. Very close up too. Like, it's the Cabbie, like, right here. Like, she's talking to herself. It's 3:30 in the morning. Like, yeah. I don't know. And now it's normal behavior now because it's the most watched HBO
documentary ever. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it makes sense now. But, you know, if I was to do it, people would be like, yo, he's a weirdo. He's always talking to himself. But anyway, the point is I'm watching this thing, and she was talking about kind of the same kind of topics. You know what I'm saying? Like how in this album, you know, she wants to be able to really be vulnerable, put the passion into the music, talk about, you know, if this is how I feel today, like, yo, I want to kill that person, or, you know what I'm saying? Like all the different things, because she's like, you know, she was kind of talking about similar situations where music right now is just real different. You know, people put out a couple of singles and tour off it, and that's it. People don't do real albums anymore. And it's interesting watching Beyonce talk because obviously not even a tenth of her level, but I can relate to certain things that she's talking about, especially, you know, even with this whole social media thing that we're in now. Because when I started rocking, nobody knew what I did personally. I didn't know what Kanye did yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Like at the time that I was rocking, like nobody knew what each other was doing. And I think to me, that's what kind of made people remain stars. And it's funny, like the more followers people have on Twitter, the less they say. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so hilarious to me whenever Jay-Z tweets like, yo, Jay-Z tweeted today. I'm like, so? You know what I mean? Because he tweets like 3 times a year or something.
Yeah, like one of his tweets was Obama party, guest list plus 40. And that was it. I was like, what? Like, who gets to tweet that? Like only a couple, like only the other kings of earth.
Right. But you know what I'm saying? Because think about it like this. I think about Tupac. Do you think Tupac would have been tweeting, or you know what I'm saying, or
think so.
Or Biggie? I don't think Biggie would have been. I don't think Biggie would have been.
I think Tupac would have.
Yeah, he would have been talking mad on Twitter.
Yeah,
he would have been talking mad.
Yeah, Biggie. Yeah, Biggie. That's an interesting one. Biggie. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been talking mad shit. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like watching that documentary, and you know, because her career started, you know, big time, like in the 90s or whatever, and. You know,
same era as you.
She sees what it is now. Yeah, but it was different when I started.
I mean,
like,
sure, it was R&B and yours is hip hop, but
listen, dude, mine was like traveling to New York with friggin', you know what I'm saying, backpacks full of 12-inch records. You know what I mean, having to go to the station and hand deliver your record. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's a whole other ballgame. But I wouldn't trade that for anything in life, because a lot of the relationships that I have now are based on me having actual real life interaction with people in the business. So it's not just a name that appears on a screen or an email or two, you understand, or some text. It's actual, like, dude, do you remember the time that we got locked out of such and such and we had to, you know what I mean? They're like No, but people that I know now that are like huge phenomenons, like I know these people before anything, you know what I mean? Like before they started, like when they were on the come up. And it's so dope, you know what I'm saying, to see, like, here's an example, DJ Irie. Irie is huge, like
the Miami Heat DJ.
Yeah,
yes,
like
he does. They're in arena part of the entertainment.
Yeah, but what's dope about Irie that like he does amazing things. You know what I'm saying? Like just huge things, and you know, anytime a LeBron or a Jay-Z or somebody is doing, you know what I mean? Like he does huge things. But I remember Irie, you know what I'm saying? Like when we used to go to Mix Show Power Summit back in the day. They don't even have Mix Show Power Summit. That used to be this conference where anybody from the entire hip-hop industry, we all used to convene for like a week somewhere. So it would be like Puerto Rico or, you know what I'm saying, wherever. That's how I got to meet 50. And that's why when 50 came here and the tours that he went on, you know what I'm saying, like when he was huge, that's why, loose talk, that's why he had me open and tour with him, because of, you know what I'm saying, because of actually kicking it, because he was a fan of old time killing. The dances that I was doing there, like when I first met him, now, dude, now imagine, this is 50. Everybody's talking about, oh, he shot 9 times, he's gangster, he's this, he's that. He comes up to me, he's surrounded by like 50 people, mad security guards, rolling with all these people. This guy comes up to me, giving me daps. He's like, yo, fam, that dance you doing in that video, you gotta teach me how to do that, son. He starts dancing. I'm like, is this the guy? You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing was that entire weekend, every time I saw him, that's all he would do is shake his hand, do the little dance. My man. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, the same thing. We got to work, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But again, it's the actual personal interaction that led to, you know what I mean, him always drawing for me to go on tour, or, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. So I think those days compared to now, like, you know, now it's a lot easier because there's a lot more people that you can just get a hold of like this. You know what I'm saying? I remember.
Yeah, people are more accessible, certainly via social media.
Yeah, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, because sometimes people, because they see you so much, they think you know me. They think they know you, sorry. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you get it a lot of times. People that are like, Cabbie, my man. Like, they treat you like you're their best friend. You're like, dude, you don't understand. This is weird to me. You're an odd guy with a huge Bin Laden beard. I've never met you before. I don't know you. Please state your name. Like, people say to me all the time, come, let's take a picture. I'm like, my mom told me don't take a picture with strangers. What is your name? All right, cool. Let's do this snap. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different time, but you know, in the same way, like the only way to be able to still be relevant is to learn how to adjust with the times. Certain artists don't know what to do because they're stuck. You know what I'm saying? And they're so trying to fit into what's.
So wait, are you gonna do one of those friggin' like Diplo, David Guetta records?
I mean, the funny thing is,
the Carl Wolf one is kind of in that world.
But here's the thing. Remember what I was talking about, living internationally and stuff? Before that stuff was cool, you understand? Like, before this was what people were aspiring to try and do, I was doing that for years. You know what I mean? Anybody on the international scale knows I've been rocking out doing those things when that was the underground. You understand what I'm saying? Now that, you know, it's what people do, people are like, oh, you know, you do a 4 on the floor, you know, Usher does it. Neo does
Chris
it,
Brown,
Chris
Neo,
Brown,
yeah,
Rihanna does it. But, like, these are things like, you know, traveling the world. It's funny because I remember the last album touring, and, you know, to me, like, I'm like, yo, how come you guys aren't playing Lil Wayne on the radio? We just sold 1 million in the first week. They're like, I don't understand it. Like, it's too slow for us here. Like, we can't dance to it. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it's like you'll go places, and a lot of your favorite songs, you don't hear it internationally because it just doesn't work. So it's like traveling the world. That's why, for me, Dangerous cut through a lot of things, is because the tempo of it almost matched what they were doing internationally.
Yeah.
So you'd go places like the south of France where you're not going to hear any hardcore hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, and you'd hear Dangerous, right? And everybody would rock out. And it's funny because the other day I was in studio, and Jimmy Iovine said to one of my guys,
wait a second, you're in the studio with Jimmy Iovine?
No, Jimmy Iovine was the one that, you know what I mean, that signed me to the deal with Akon, though. So I have been with Jimmy. Jimmy's a very interesting character. But my guy was in studio with him.
He's like the most powerful man in music.
Yeah, but the funny thing, he's like 5 feet tall. I'll tell you honestly how, it's a cool story. You'll love it. So they're like, yo, we went into the building. They're trying to give you the sales pitch. And they're like, yo, Jimmy wants to see you in his office. Everybody's like, oh, my God. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever, because I don't care about that kind of stuff. This guy comes into the office talking. So I'm thinking, okay, he's on the phone, Bluetooth, something. You know what I mean? Nothing. He's in conversation. I'm looking around. I'm like, is there somebody behind him? No. He sits down beside me. And so I'm just kind of listening to this. He's talking to me, but he started the conversation from outside of the room. And he's going in because Kardinal, what hip-hop is like right now what it is, it's like the 80s with heavy metal music. You know what I mean? Like in the 80s, everybody, they had frizzed hair. You know what I mean? Everybody was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And this is what they did in the 80s. You know what I mean? There were lipstick bands and there were this and that. That's what hip-hop is now. Why I like you is because we got to do this. We got to do this. So are we doing this deal or what? And I was like, sure. He's like, all right, cool. Left the room. And I was like, well, all right. Like Jimmy... Jimmy is, you know what I'm saying, no matter if you love him or hate him, that man is definitely a weird genius. He's a weird genius.
He's responsible for some of the heavyweights. Dre, M, 50.
Yeah, Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, Black Eyed Peas, they're a phenomenon.
Jeez, the Pussy, Cat Dolls.
Okay, so listen, wait. So you spent a good part of that sort of you're kind of romanticizing about the process of recording and then the face-to-face interactions. Now,
yes.
Dave Grohl, who was the drummer for the legendary band Nirvana, Dave Grohl, as far as the music goes, there may not be a person with a higher sort of Q rating. Like everybody loves Dave Grohl. He's funny. He's endearing. He's self-deprecating.
Right.
Like Questlove is probably another dude who's like
right.
your favorite musician's favorite musician.
Right.
So Dave Grohl just put together a documentary called it's called Sound City, where this a bunch of famous rock albums were made, like Nirvana's Nevermind, Fleetwood Mac, the Rage Against the Machine's first album.
Crazy.
And I want to know, is there, okay, so this is this one studio in Los Angeles. Does or did the same thing exist in hip-hop? Was there a studio where some of these iconic albums were made? I remember reading that Just Blaze had to close down Baseline Studios, where he made Cameron's Come Home With Me, and he made Jay-Z's Blueprint, the first Blueprint album, which was in his top 3 or on the Mount Rushmore of Jay-Z albums is the Blueprint.
Right.
So and I know you've recorded all over the U.S. and I'm sure you've recorded all over the world, but in hip hop, obviously the birthplace is in America. But did one of these studios exist?
Yeah, I mean, there's, pardon me, there's a lot of them, but I was blessed to be able to rock at a time when, I mean, now I hate to characterize it as underground, but like that raw sound that used to be the mainstream of hip hop, like when Primo and...
So DJ Premier, for those who don't know.
Yeah, like D&D Studios was
right.
that studio. And I remember when Socrates got his first deal with Warner Brothers, we flew to go work with DJ Premier at D&D Studios.
So DJ Premier had done some Biggie records, some Notorious B.I.G. records. He did Kick in the Door. He did The What. And then on Nas's Illmatic, he had a record. Obviously, Gangstar with Guru.
He did Jay-Z.
He did a bunch. He's one of the iconic producers of hip hop music. So anyway, you're at D&D Studios with Socrates.
Yeah, and it's like it was so grimy. Like you pull up.
So what year is this? This is like 96, 97, 98?
Something like that. Yeah, like, I'm just tagging along at these times. You understand what I'm saying? Like, school's out, summer break or what have you. So I'm just rolling because Sox got his deal. I'm still dead ass broke, poor. You know what I'm saying? But we're rolling, and it's like you come up in the, I believe it was the elevator, and it's like you just see this red light shining through. Like, they have the like like the submarine door, like where it's just the little circle.
Yeah.
And it's like you go in there and it's mad like dingy and grimy and. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those ones where it's like the place looked like what the music sounded like. you understood why those songs came out of that studio. And it's like, to be able to say that I went to D&D Studios while it was rocking, for like, to me, that was an amazing experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, D&D, it was raw. Because I mean,
and that's in New York, right?
Yeah. And at that time, like, you have to understand, like, hip hop was only, like, first and foremost, it was about the lyrics. So it's like going in there, you're like, oh my God, I'm writing a verse in D&D Studios. Like, yo, I have to write the illest, craziest thing. Because it's like, you have to understand, like, you know, Nas probably did Illmatic there. And, you know, all these other artists, you know, Biggie and all these different people came through and blessed the microphone at some point in time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, being around in those times, even just getting a glimpse into what that was like those things are, it's almost non-existent now, just because, like, literally, like, you know, we could just go onto your computer now and we could do a whole album in this room. You know what I'm saying? The studio, it definitely it's not as special as it used to be. There's one studio that's still like that now. And it's funny because when Shaw Clear in 99, he was on DJ Hurricane's album. We went to this studio in Atlanta called Tree Sound. And it was the coolest because, dude, it had rock climbing. It had an indoor half court.
Really?
Yeah, it was sick. And I remember being like, yo, I never want to leave here. This is actually where I record probably about 40 or 50% of my music. And the funny thing was, the other day when I was there, Drake was recording also. So I remember T.I. had his release party there, and, you know, I ended up linking up, like, you know, chopping it up for a while with 40, and, you know what I'm saying, like, a lot of people go there because it's in Atlanta.
40 is Drake's producer,
right?
Noah.
But Tree Sound it's out of the cut, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you go there, you're only going there to make music. And what's dope is it's totally powered by solar powered.
Oh,
it's
cool.
like a green studio.
Oh, cool.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like just the
whole. Is it also green as well once you get into the studio?
Nah. But it's super dope. Like, there's like a tree inside, but the vibe there is dope because everybody there is family, and some close friends of mine actually run it. So it's like the who's who of anybody, from the J. Coles to 2 Chainz, T.I., Drake, anybody, you know what I'm saying, myself, everybody works there just because the vibe is so dope. You know what I mean? And if you go to 3littledigs.com, that was actually birthed out of Tree Sound. You know what I'm saying? It was a movement that started by a good friend of mine by the name of Groove Chambers, who works out of Tree Sound. Tree Sound is probably, for me, the only studio that still has that super dope vibe. And, like, when people are actually in there and they're together, they actually do rock out, you know what I'm saying, on an organic level rather than just some bull. Oh, this guy's popping right now, let's do a song together.
I'm in studio with Kardinal Offishall, and the stories have been awesome. I don't know if you saw this documentary. I'll get you out of here on this. Mm-hmm. The documentary was called It Might Get Loud, and there were 3 generations of guitarists. There was Jack White, who of the White Stripes. Yep. There was The Edge of U2, and there was Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. Nice. And for an hour and a half, they were discussing, you know, the way they make music. And towards the end, I guess the climax of the movie is they're teaching each other how, like, some of their own music. Yeah. And it was, and I'm not that big of a rock and roll guy, but I found this fascinating.
Right.
Now, if a producer was able to put 3 generations of hip hop producers in a documentary or in a room together to speak about the artistry, the artists, the sounds, the changing of the sounds, who would those producers be? So like I guess like a producer from the 80s, sort of the birth of hip hop, then the 90s when the sound changed, and then the millennials when again the sound changed and it was at its most commercial, which was in the 2000s. So who's your guy from the 80s? So I'll give you 3 names. Okay, there's.
Okay, you we'll do stuff that's easy for your listeners to digest because we can go deep. But you give me 3 names.
I'll go. Okay, so
from the 80s.
So Rick Rubin,
mm-hmm.
Dr. Dre,
yep,
and Russell Simmons. Russell and Rick are pretty associated.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go. Those are from the 80s. So who's your guy there? Sorry, from that list, and then or you can give me your own guy, but and then
from that list,
yeah.
I would go with Rick Rubin.
Okay. So who's the guy that you were gonna say?
Marley Marl.
Marley Marl.
Marley Marl. People.
That's like Boogie Down Productions. Marley Marl.
No, this is Boogie Down Productions was trying to kill Marley Marl's career. Marley Marl. Marley Marl was Biz Markie. They had a crew called the Juice Crew All Stars. So that's Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie, Cool G Rap, Big Daddy Kane. Like Marley Marl.
Okay.
He was the one responsible for all of the crazy, like when people talk about like real old school, like, you know what I'm saying, like the late 80s hip hop. Marley Marl, literally, like a lot of the break beats that you hear, he created. You understand what I'm saying? Like Marley Marl, and it's funny, I tweeted it the other day. There's some people that we have like a lot of people have no idea, just because it's funny. We have access to the most information right now, and we're the dumbest ever.
You're right. You're absolutely
dumbest.
right.
But
I'm pretty sure I was smarter at 16 than I am now.
Absolutely. But Marley Marl,
yes.
Somebody by the name of Herbie Lovebug, Herbie Azor Lovebug. Now, he was the one responsible for Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of those, like,
so kind of party rap, party hip hop at that time.
Yeah. And then also,
but you can only pick one of these guys from
but
the
listen,
80s.
But I'm just gonna give you this is just bonus. This is bonus. Ding, 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 bonus material. And Teddy Riley. I didn't know that Teddy Riley, he produced the show for Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. I didn't
know either. So Teddy Riley from Virginia also was the driving force behind the New Jack Swing sound and Rex and Effects, Rump Shaker, which then Just Blaze then flipped into the song for Jay-Z. What was it? Wasn't Show Me What You Got.
Oh, yeah,
He flipped into something for Jay. Anyway, okay. So Teddy Riley, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can only pick one?
Yes.
Out of all those people that we mentioned.
Yeah, so Herbie Lovebug, Marley Marl, Rick Rubin, and Teddy Riley. I mean, you're a guy, he sounds like Marley Marl.
Marley Marl.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then from the 90s, here's my silly list. Again, Dr. Dre, DJ Premier,
right,
Q-Tip, the RZA,
yes,
and Pete Rock.
Ooh, I literally, and I'm not name dropping, I literally just got off the phone with Pete Rock.
What do you mean?
Like an hour ago. No, because side note, I'm shooting my first documentary. And
about what? Dude, why don't we get to this earlier? We're talking about Beyonce's documentary and this documentary.
It's one of the, it's a, certain things are so close to me, I don't like really,
okay, fine,
you know what I'm saying?
When the time is right, please let me know about
it. Pete Rock is a good friend of mine. I'm going to talk to him about the documentary stuff. So, we were just making sure that the time is here. Out of those people, I would say it's a tie maybe between Primo and RZA, just because their production techniques were so friggin' what's the proper word? The opposite of anything normal.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you
Premier would always cut up records.
If you looked at the samples that Premier used, he never looped it. Like, the way that he constructed a beat is like, I don't know what was going on in his brain.
And then RZA would he had his influences from kung fu movies and a lot of Asian culture, and then he would incorporate those sounds of swords and clicks.
But then he would have like
metallic,
just offbeat stuff that made no sense. And the first Wu-Tang album was never mastered. Like, mixing and mastering is what we do. Like, you get an engineer to mix it so it sounds good, and then you go to mastering so sonically it sounds pretty. If you go back to that first Wu-Tang album, it sounds like mud.
Really?
Yes.
It sounds as grimy as their sound.
Yeah,
like,
but
it sounds like they recorded it in some dungeon which had 36 chambers.
But they did. But that's what I'm saying is, like, the sound of it, like, it's like nobody did anything. Like, it went from their basement to the store. So it's a tie between those guys. And then he said the 2000s.
Yeah. So on this list I have Pharrell Williams, who you worked with, Timbaland, who you just worked with, and Kanye West. Those are the three I have for the 2000s. All responsible and all had their...
I'll tell you honestly, when we were in studio with Timbaland, we were just vibing out. He was just playing us the new Justin stuff, the new Beyonce stuff, the new Jay-Z. Like, he was just showing us where he's at. And he's gonna be back big time in 2013. Crazy, but again, a tie between.
No, but you can only have one guy. There's only one guy represent. It might get loud. There's only three. It was Jimmy Page, it was The Edge, and it was Jack White. So right now you have Marley Marl. You got to pick between the RZA or DJ Premier to represent the 90s hip hop.
Premier, because he worked with more people.
Okay, and then now for the millennials.
I think Timbaland, and because I say Timbaland because there's things that he did that had never been done before. Like Pharrell has a sound, like he used there's like a Neptunes kit, so you'll recognize a kick and a snare.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But Timbaland, the way that he quantized certain things, and I know I'm going above a lot of, like the timing of his drums, the way that he used, sometimes like there's things that the average listener, they're like, this sounds amazing, I have no idea why. But Timbaland's like, you know what, I'm not going to put a hi-hat in that song. And I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to use a click for a snare instead of a snare. Like, Timbaland took risks that changed the way that people produce. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the other day, what's the song that he had? The one with just the way you are. Like, he's the one
I don't know. When you hit those high notes, he lost me.
Isn't it? Wasn't that the song with him, the Nicole Scherzinger and Carrie Hilson? You don't remember? Huge song, dude. Like,
I don't know.
Number one across the.
What's the?
Yeah,
no.
I got my money. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Come on, guy. Come on. Come on. Cabbie.
I gotta look it up. Okay. So he changed. What were you gonna say about that one?
I was gonna say, like, you know, for a lot of people using I don't know how you pronounce it, if it's a pregiator or whatever, but it's a certain thing that you do with synth sounds when you're producing and stuff. Like, he was the one that brought a lot of stuff to the forefront. He took a lot of crazy risks, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? Like, with everybody from Nelly Furtado to
I think it's called Scream.
Absolutely not.
That's not the one?
No.
Timbaland, Nicole Scherzinger, and Carrie Hilson?
I mean, that is the song, but I was thinking of a different song. Sorry.
All right. Anyway.
Sorry, I was thinking of a different song.
You're not. No, you're not. You're just.
But anyway.
I didn't know it either. Okay.
But anyways,
yes.
my whole point is I think I would go with Timbaland. So what's that? Timbaland, Premier,
and Marley Marl.
Wow, that's crazy.
That would be an exceptional documentary.
Here's something. Timbaland, Teddy Riley. There's a
Virginia.
Pharrell, all from Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, Virginia has an incredible talent pool for producers. Bink is from there. You say, who's Bink? Bink is responsible for a lot of crazy hits for Jay-Z too. Go back to 1-900 Hustler.
Oh, really?
That's Bink.
I thought that was just Blaze, just because of that sonic,
and
that
that's
boom.
why those two have had a hate and a little bit of love relationship, because I thought it was. When I first met Bink, I remember I did a mixtape called Kill Blood Clot Bill, and I rapped over 1-900 Hustler. And he's like, yo, son, thanks for blessing my beat. I was like, whose beat? He was like, I was like, oh, you did that.
Ah, yeah.
And then when you start to do the research, you're like, oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of those kind of relationships within hip-hop and within producers, but it's crazy the amount of and my guy Knots, who's worked with everybody from Biggie to Busta to Exhibit to me to you name it. Like, they're all from Virginia. Virginia is retarded for producers, but I'm good with those three choices though.
That would with your relationships and your weight, can you try to get those three people into a room, please? Make that part of your documentary, Cardi.
Wow.
Just have a little side 30 minutes, which has nothing to do with whatever your thing. Just have this little, and what does this door lead to?
It
Boom,
would be
and
so
then you
sick.
see these three dudes.
And here's how I want to end it, because I know that when we were first thinking about this podcast, it was gonna be a certain way and about certain
like sports
things.
and some basketball.
But this is actually crazy, and what's so dope, and it's like, for me, it's not like I'm one of those like hip hop nerds, you know what I mean? That like, oh, I know this stuff and I know the producer of this and where they did this, and it's not because I'm like just super geeked out, but it's because this hip hop thing, it really started out as, you know what I'm saying, as a culture before it became a commodity.
Right.
Like before, you know what I mean?
Business.
Yeah. So it's like just being able to come up in a time, and it's very weird for me because it's like Busta and them, like you have to understand, Busta came out in like 91.
Yes.
You know, you understand what I'm saying? So it's like my first record deal was like 2000 or 2001. And then there's you know, let's say the Drake era that we're in now. So I'm somewhere in the middle, loose talk. So it's just very interesting, like, to have been like a little kid, but a little kid who was super passionate. Like, if, you know what I mean, if my son or a little nephew was that young and that into hip hop, like, I'd be like, yo, what, like, you know what I mean? Like, go play, go ride a bike. But, you know what I'm saying? So I remember as a little kid, I was passionate about it then. And then, you know, getting, you know, being a certain age and meeting the Bustas, the Timbalands, and talking to them about, you know, oh man, you got into this hip hop, you missed the gravy train, because that's when they used to do $2 million videos and people had $1 million budget to record an album and all that. When I got in, they're like, yeah, we're done with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I just missed a certain era. And then it's like kind of when I was rocking, it was weird because internet hadn't really popped like that yet. So things were still kind of organic, but leaning towards where we are now. And where we are now, it's just like everything is on Broad Street. Everything is front page. But all the stuff that we've been discussing over this last hour and change, and all the different vibes and the things behind it, you know what I mean, the feeling behind it. This is why I'm still doing music primarily, why I love it, why hip hop still keeps my lights on. It's because of those feelings, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, if more people were to be as passionate, you know what I'm saying, and really look into it, you know what I'm saying, I think the culture of hip hop would be even bigger than it is now. Hip hop is big, but if you ask people about stuff, they have no idea because they don't care, because it's no longer about the culture. It's about the random song that they hear that they like. Pop the Molly, I'm sweating. Woo! Yeah. They say that in the club, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really go further than that nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so crazy. Like, I love it. Like, hip hop is dope. It's funny. Shy Wisdom tweeted the other day. She's like, it's crazy. I'm in Maple right now, and these rich kids are hanging out of their Benzes singing Started From the Bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy because it's like, now it's just about the song. Like, people, they love the song, but it doesn't go further than that.
Right. There's not a connection to the culture.
There's not a connection to the culture and to the people. You know what I'm saying? And for hip hop, that's what it started off as, and it still is. You know what I'm saying? Like, the funny thing is, although hip hop is huge, there's still people that live in a lot of lower class neighborhoods that still are actually the ones that dictate what is fresh. The ones that myself, the Drakes, the Lil Waynes, the Bustas, these are the people that we still look to see what's ill.
I heard it once, somebody saying, you want to know what is the next fad or the next thing in American pop culture, is like, go to Harlem and look at what the 16-year-olds are wearing, what they're listening to, and that will dictate what the next trend is.
Without question.
So, something to that effect.
And that's where these things start, you know what I'm saying? And we can never forget that.
Kardinal Offishall, you're a scholar, a gentleman, and an unbelievable artist. liveanddirect.com. Let me read that. Okay, so it's live, the word live, and the word and, direct, DIEWRECKED.com, liveanddirect.com.
And because of that, what I'm going to do is just create a portal so you can go to I'mADumDum.com and it'll take you to liveanddirect.com. Just follow me at Kardinal O. You'll be good.
At Kardinal O on Twitter. That's Kardinal with a K, Kardinalo.
Yes, sir.
On Twitter and Instagram, same thing, at Kardinal O, one word together. It's been a pleasure having you, and this felt like sitting in my kitchen again, telling stories, although some of the stories we couldn't repeat here, but it was still cool to go down memory lane and share some of your experiences, so I appreciate having you, man.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.